The Galactic Council chamber was a sight to see. It was a huge room where the most powerful species in the galaxy met. The air shimmered with colors from alien lights. The walls were made of materials no human had ever touched. In the center of the room, a circle of seats held the ambassadors. Each seat was made to suit its owner. One was a pool of water for a fish-like being. Another was a perch for a creature with wings. One seat was different. It was made of a simple, old-fashioned material called marble, with a warm, brown wood. It was the human seat. For 5 long years, no one had sat in it. It was empty. It was a quiet reminder of a species that was gone. On a large screen at the front of the room, the face of Counselor Vrox appeared. He was a Galilean. His skin had shiny scales that changed color from blue to green. His eyes were black and showed no feeling. He was a proud and important figure. "The motion is called," Vrox said, his voice a dry hiss. "The species named humanity has been silent for 5 standard cycles. No communication. No travel between stars. No answer to our calls. Their home, the Sol system, is a dead place. It is only broken pieces and dangerous energy. They are gone. We now vote to remove their seat from this council. Their story is over. Their space now belongs to no one." There was little discussion. To the other species, humanity had been loud, fast, and messy. They had arrived on the galactic stage in a rush of noise and ambition. Then, just as quickly, they had gone quiet. A strange energy event in their home system was the only explanation anyone had. They were a fire that had burned out. The vote happened. One by one, the other ambassadors agreed. The human seat was to be erased. It was not a dramatic event. It was a quiet, administrative one. A clerk pressed a button dot in the council chamber. The marble and wood seat flickered once like a bad picture on a screen, and then it was gone. The space where it had been was just empty air. At that same moment, across the entire galactic network, every record of humanity as a spacefaring race was deleted. Their ship designs, their history files, their language translations, all of it was wiped clean. By the law of the galaxy, humanity had never existed among the stars, far away from the council. In a dark and quiet part of space, a small ship floated near a dead moon. This ship was called the Wayward Sun. It was an old, tired ship, patched together with spare parts. Inside, the air smelled of recycled oxygen and machine oil. A man named Minsu sat in the pilot's chair. He was watching the council meeting on a small, grainy screen. The video was full of static, but he saw it all. He saw Vrox speak. He saw the vote. He saw the empty space where Earth's seat had been docked. Minsu was not an old man, but his face was tired. His eyes, which had once been full of curiosity, now looked sad. He had been a different person once. He had been a xenoarchaeologist and a linguist. He had studied alien languages and ruins. He had been someone who asked big questions. That was before the silence. Before everyone he knew on Earth was gone. Now, he was a scavenger. He flew his old ship through empty space, looking for pieces of old technology or valuable metal he could sell to survive. It was a lonely life. A woman walked into the room. Her name was Ji Hyan. She was the engineer of the Wayward Sun. Where Minsu was messy with sadness, Ji Hyan was neat and focused. Her hands were usually covered in grease from fixing the ship's many broken parts. She saw the look on Minsu's face and then looked at the screen, which now showed normal galactic news. "They did it," Minsu said, his voice flat. "They erased us." Ji Hyan leaned against the doorway. "They erased a chair," she said. Her voice was practical. "They erased some data. It doesn't change what is true." "It changes everything," Minsu replied, still staring at the screen. "Before we were a memory." "A ghost? Now?" "Now we are nothing, officially." He stood up and walked to the small window, looking out at the stars. "I remember when the first alien ambassador came to Earth. Everyone was so excited. We had so many questions. We wanted to see everything, to learn everything." He shook his head. "And now they have forgotten us." Ji Hyan came and stood beside him. "We are still here," she said quietly. You and me. And we have work to do. The ship's engine is making a strange sound again. I need your help to look at it. This was their life. They moved from one forgotten spot in space to another, looking for scrap. Today, their target was an old asteroid mining outpost. It had been abandoned long before humanity had even left Earth. It was the kind of place no one else cared about. Perfect for them. A few hours later, the wayward sun was docked with the outpost. The place was cold and dark. The only light came from their helmet lamps. They moved through the dusty corridors, their boots making the only sound. Look for any working power cells, Jihyun said over the radio. Or intact computer cores. The buyers will pay well for pre-council tech. Minsu moved slowly. His mind was not on the work. It was still back on the council's decision. He felt a deep anger and a deeper sadness. As he walked, he ran his gloved hand over the dusty walls. He imagined the beings who had worked here long ago. They were also forgotten. Nothing lasted. Meanwhile, back on the ship, Jihyun was running her deep scanner. This was a powerful machine she had built herself. It could look for many kinds of energy and materials deep inside the rock of the asteroid. She was looking for pockets of valuable metals. The scanner hummed, and lines of data flowed across the screen. Most of it was normal. She saw the iron and nickel of the asteroid. She saw the faint power signature of the wayward sun, but then she saw something else. It was a pattern. It was very faint, like a whisper in a loud room. It was buried deep in the background energy of space itself. At first, she thought it was a problem with her machine. She tapped the screen. She ran a diagnostic check. The machine was fine. The pattern was still there. It was not a simple signal. It was incredibly complex. It looked like a constantly changing, repeating design. It was a fractal, a shape that repeats itself in smaller and smaller parts, forever. It was beautiful and strange. Minsu, she said into the radio. Her voice was different. It had lost its calm, practical tone. It was now full of wonder. You need to come back to the ship, now. What is it? Minsu's voice came back, fuzzy with static. Did you find something good? I don't know what I found, Jihyun said. But it's big. It's a signal. A pattern. And it's everywhere. Minsu came back to the ship as quickly as he could. He took off his helmet and went to the scanner screen. Jihyun pointed at the flowing data. Look, she said. It's not coming from the asteroid. It's not coming from any star or planet. It's in the space between. It's a part of space itself. Minsu looked at the screen. His tired eyes went wide. This was not like any alien language he had ever studied. Those were made of sounds and symbols. This was different. This was a language of energy, of physics. It was math and music mixed together. It's a carrier wave, Jihyun explained, her excitement growing. It's like the base of a radio signal, but 1,000 times more advanced. This isn't a message being sent. This is the thing you send messages on. And it's everywhere. In this whole sector of space. Minsu felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold ship. He thought about the official story. The energy event around Seoul, the debris field. What if it wasn't an end? What if it was a change? They didn't die, he whispered, the idea forming in his mind like a distant star coming into view. They didn't just blow up, they did something else. They didn't build ships and cities out there. He pointed at the stars outside the window. They built something in here. He pointed at the scanner screen, at the pattern woven into the fabric of space. He looked at Jihyun, his old curiosity finally burning through his sadness. The council thinks they erased a dead species. But what if they just tried to erase a ghost, and instead they woke up a god? Asterisk, the silence on the wayward sun was heavy and full of thought. Minsu and Jihyun stared at the scanner screen. The beautiful, complex pattern flowed across it. It was like a river of light and data. It did not stop or change. It was just there, a part of everything. It is everywhere. Minsu asked again, his voice quiet. Yes, Jihyun said. She was typing fast on her console. Lines of numbers and symbols moved on another screen. It is a very low-level energy signature. It is in the background of space itself. We never saw it before because we were not looking for it. Our sensors are made to find big things. Big ships, big power sources, big messages. This is small. And everywhere. Like dust, but smarter. Min-Soo sat down slowly. His mind, which had been sleepy for so long, was now fully awake. He was a linguist. His job was to find patterns in strange sounds and symbols and find their meaning. But this was a pattern in the universe. How do you translate that? This is not a message they are sending, he said, thinking out loud. This is what they became. Ji-hyun looked at him. What do you mean? The council said there was an energy event in the Sol system. They said it was a disaster. What if it was not? What if it was a change? What if humanity found a way to step out, to leave their bodies behind, to become this? He pointed at the screen. This network, this pattern, they did not die. They moved into the walls of the house. Ji-hyun thought about this. It was a crazy idea, but the proof was right in front of them, flowing on her screen. It was the only thing that made sense. The debris field around Earth was not broken ships. It was the physical shell they left behind. Like a snake shedding its skin, so the council did not erase a dead species, Ji-hyun said. They erased a species that was sleeping in the walls, and we just heard it breathe, Min-Soo replied. They knew they could not keep this to themselves. They were just two people on an old ship. This was too big. But who could they tell? The Galactic Council had just declared humanity extinct. If they went to them, the Council would not believe them. They might even take the wayward son and erase Min-Soo and Ji-hyun to keep their story quiet. They needed help. They needed someone who was good with data and who they could trust. Min-Soo knew one person. Her name was Soo Min. She was a data broker. She lived on a busy space station called the Crossroads. She bought and sold information. She was also very good at finding secrets. More importantly, she was human, and she had helped Min-Soo in the past. We need to go see Soo Min, Min-Soo said. Ji-hyun nodded. She is the only one. But we must be careful. If the council is watching anyone, they are watching the last humans. The trip to the Crossroads took 2 days. During that time, Ji-hyun worked non-stop. She improved her scanner. She found ways to make the signal clearer. She discovered that the pattern was not random. It had rules. It was a language of physics. It was a code that talked about energy and space and time. Min-Soo watched the pattern for hours. He tried to understand it. He saw parts that repeated. He saw structures that looked like grammar in a sentence. He could not read it, but he could feel that it meant something. It was the most beautiful and lonely thing he had ever seen. His entire species was in that pattern, and he was the only one who knew it. The Crossroads station was a messy place. It was a hub for traders, miners, and people who did not want to be found. Ships of all shapes and sizes docked there. The air inside was thick with smells from 100 different species. Min-Soo and Ji-hyun put on hooded jackets to hide their faces. They moved through the crowded corridors. They went to a quiet part of the station, down a dark hallway. They stopped at a plain metal door. Min-Soo pressed a button. A small camera looked at them. A voice came from a speaker. Go away. Soo Min, it's Min-Soo. We need to talk. There was a pause. Then the door opened with a click. Inside, the room was full of light. Holoscreens floated in the air, showing streams of data and news from across the galaxy. In the middle of it all sat a young woman with sharp eyes. This was Soo Min. She was drinking something from a mug and did not look happy to see them. Min-Soo, she said. I saw the news. The council wiped you out. Sorry about that. But I am very busy. What do you want? We found something, Min-Soo said. And we need your help to understand it. I am not a charity, Soo Min said. What did you find? A new asteroid full of gold? Better, Ji-hyun said. She took out a small data chip and put it into a console on the wall. The image from the scanner appeared on one of the big holoscreens. The beautiful, flowing pattern filled the room. Su-Min put her mug down. Her eyes went wide. She stood up and walked closer to the screen. What is that? It is beautiful. It is humanity, Minsu said. Su-Min laughed. What are you talking about? Did you both finally go crazy out there in the dark? Listen to us, Kion said. She explained everything. The signal that was everywhere. The theory that humanity had changed. That they had become this network. When she finished, Su-Min was quiet for a long time. She looked from the screen to their serious faces and back to the screen. You are saying, she said slowly, that the council declared gods extinct? A slow smile spread across her face. It was a smile of pure joy. This is the best thing I have ever heard. This is the biggest I told you so in the history of everything. She started to laugh. It was a loud, happy sound, then she became serious again. She sat down and her fingers flew across a keyboard. Okay, show me all your data. Everything you have. For the next several hours, the three of them worked. Ji-Hyun showed all her scans. Min-Soo showed his notes on the patterns he thought were language. Su-Min used her powerful computers and her access to galactic networks to run analyses. She confirmed it. The signal was real. It was everywhere. And it was interacting with the galaxy in small ways. Look here, Su-Min said, pulling up a news report. 3 days ago, a Gillian science ship near the Cygnus Loop reported a major sensor ghost. Their computers went crazy for a second. They said it was a solar flare. She pulled up another report. A week ago, a Tarkilian trade route had to be moved because of unstable space. The ships flying through it felt like they were being pushed. She looked at them. These events all happened in areas where your signal is the strongest. The network is not just sitting there. It is active. It is reacting to things. Reacting how? Min-Soo asked. We do not know, Su-Min said. But it is not attacking. Look at the Gillian ship. It had a sensor ghost, but nothing was broken. The trade route was uncomfortable, but no ships were lost. It is like a reflex. A reflex? Ji-Hyun asked. Yes, Su-Min said. Like when a doctor taps your knee and your leg kicks? It is not a thought. It is a reaction. The network is reacting to big, loud things moving through it. Like a Gillian warship. Just as she said this, an alarm beeped on one of her screens. Su-Min looked at it. Her face became pale. What is it? Min-Soo asked. A big, loud thing is moving, Su-Min said. She turned the screen around. It showed a galactic news alert. Councillor Vrox, he's taken his personal flagship, the Pride of Galia, on a tour to show the strength and unity of the Council after the recent administrative changes. She looked at them. His first stop? The Orion Fringe. The exact sector where we are. Where the signal is the strongest. A cold fear filled the room. Vrox, the man who had erased them, was flying his powerful warship right into the heart of what remained of humanity. He will provoke it, Ji-Hyun whispered. His ship is huge. Its engines are loud. It will be like shouting in a quiet room. What will the network do? Min-Soo asked. If it is just a reflex, what happens when you shout? They did not know, but they knew they had to find out. And they had to find a way to talk to the network before Vrox arrived. They had to find a way to say hello to the ghost in the walls before the ghost decided to swat the fly that was buzzing too loud. The news about Vrox's ship changed everything. They were no longer just scientists with a discovery. They were now in a race against time. Su-Min's small room felt even smaller. The floating holoscreen showed a map of the Orion Fringe. A bright red dot, representing the Pride of Galia, was moving steadily towards them. He will be here in 48 hours, Su-Min said. Her voice was all business now. His ship is a city with engines. Its power signature is massive. If your network flinches against that, it will not be a small push. It could look like an attack. We cannot let that happen, Min-Soo said. He paced back and forth. If the network hurts Vrox, the whole Galactic Council will see it as an act of war. They will not see a reflex. They will see a monster. They will try to fight it. They will try to fight what is left of us. So we have to talk to it first, Jihyun said. She was already working on her portable scanner, connecting it to Su-min's more powerful computers. We have to explain. We have to make it see us. But how do you talk to a universe? Min-Su asked, his hands held out in frustration. I am a linguist, but this is not a language of words. It is a language of being. We start with the basics, Jihyun replied, her focus absolute. We find one word, the simplest concept we can, and we say it. They got to work. Su-min used her skills to search through all the data from the signal. She looked for the most common, the most stable pattern. It had to be a building block. Min-Su sat with her, his eyes tired from staring at the flowing light. He thought about what the most important first word would be. Hello, friend? We are here? None of those felt right. They were too complex. They needed something more basic. Something a system would understand. A boundary, he said suddenly. Su-min and Jihyun looked at him. Think of a computer. The first thing it knows is 1 and 0. On and off. A limit, a border. This network exists in space. It must understand the idea of a container, of a defined area. Jihyun nodded. Like a do-not-cross line. A concept of self and other. Yes, Min-Su said. We need to find the pattern for sanctuary. A safe place. A defined space that is protected. If we can project that, maybe it will create a bubble around us. A place of peace. It would be a way to say, we are here and we mean no harm. It was a good idea. Su-min ran her programs. She filtered the vast data of the signal, looking for a pattern that was self-contained, that looped back on itself perfectly. After hours of work, she found one. It was a beautiful, swirling shape that repeated in smaller and smaller loops, always staying within its own borders. This is it, she said, pulling the pattern onto the main screen. It is the most stable and closed loop in the entire signal. If any pattern means boundary or self, this is it. Now Jihyun had to build a speaker. They could not just broadcast a radio signal. That would be like trying to talk to a fish by shouting. They had to speak the network's language. They had to modulate energy in the same way the network itself did. She worked through the night. She used parts from her scanner, from Su-min's computers, and from the wayward sun. She built a strange-looking device with many crystals and wires. It was a crude translator. It would take the digital pattern and turn it into a specific, focused energy emission. It is ready, she said, her voice hoarse from lack of sleep. It is not strong. It will not reach far. Maybe just to the edge of this station. But it is a start. They decided to test it. They would send the sanctuary signal for just 1 second. They held their breath. Jihyun pressed a button. The device hummed. A low, soft tone filled the room. It was not a sound you heard with your ears, but a vibration you felt in your bones. For a moment, the lights in Su-min's room flickered gently, like a soft sigh, and then something amazing happened. On all their screens, the chaotic background signal changed. Around the space station, the flowing pattern shifted. It did not go away. Instead, it organized itself. The beautiful fractal patterns became more regular, more calm. It was as if a messy room had suddenly been tidied up. The space around the crossroads felt quieter, more peaceful. It worked, Su-min whispered, looking at her sensor readings. The energy here is different. It is calmer. Min-Su felt a tear in his eye. For the first time in 5 years, he did not feel alone. He had spoken and something had answered. It was not words, but it was an understanding. It was a feeling of welcome. But their moment of peace was short-lived. An alarm blared on Su-min's news screen. It was a live feed from a deep space monitoring post. The Pride of Gelia has arrived early, Su-min said, her voice tense. Vrox decided to push his engines. He is at the edge of the sector. Right now. They looked at the feed. The Gillian flagship was huge. It was a dark, angular ship, covered in weapons. It looked like a knife moving through the stars. He is heading straight for a dense cluster of the signal, Ji Hyan said, pointing at her map. His path will take him right through it. They watched, helpless. They were too far away. Their small device could not reach that far. On the screen, the Pride of Gelia entered the area of strong signal. At first, nothing happened. Then the lights on the huge ship flickered. Not a gentle flicker like in their room, but a violent, jerking strobe. A news reporter's voice, a nervous Tarkilian, came over the audio. We are seeing unusual readings from the counselor's ship. It seems to be experiencing some technical problems. The problems got worse. The ship's engines flared brightly, then almost died, then flared again. The ship started to move erratically, like a car on ice. The network is flinching, Kion said. But his ship is too big. It is not a small push. It is a system-wide shock. Then something even more strange happened. A message flashed across the official Gillian channel. It was from the ship's own navigation computer. The message read, "Current location, ERROR. Vessel is simultaneously at coordinates X45, Y98, Z12, X46, Y98, Z12, and the Andromeda Galaxy. Please our ECAL IBRAT.su-min stared at the message. It calculated its position in 3 places at once, one of them in another galaxy. That is impossible. Min-Su understood. It is not an attack. The network is not breaking the ship. It is just confusing it. It is telling the ship's computer that the rules of space are different here. The computer does not know how to handle it. On the screen, the Pride of Gelia was drifting, its systems in chaos. It was not damaged, but it was completely helpless. It could not move. It could not fight. It could not even understand where it was. Then, Vrox's face appeared on the screen. He was in his command chair. His scales were flushed with dark purple anger. He was shouting, "This is an outrage. A deliberate attack on a council vessel? We are being assaulted by unknown forces. I demand that the council authorize full military response. Find what is doing this and destroy it." Min-Su felt a surge of anger. Vrox did not understand. He was like a man who shouted at the wind for blowing. He was provoking a power he could not see, and he was calling it a fight. He does not get it, Min-Su said. He will never get it. We have to stop him. How? Jihan asked. We are here. He is there. Min-Su looked at the communication device Jihyun had built. It was small. Its reach was short, but they did not need to reach the network anymore. They needed to reach Vrox. We do not talk to the network, Min-Su said, a new plan forming in his mind. We talk to him. We use the word. We show him that this is not an attack. We show him it is a language. He will not listen, Su-min said. He does not have to understand it, Min-Su replied. He just has to hear it, and everyone else has to hear it too. We broadcast the sanctuary signal on all channels, to his ship and to the entire Galactic Council. Jihan looked at her device. The power needed. It might break it? It is only built for a short, small burst. It does not matter, Min-Su said. His voice was firm. He was no longer a sad scavenger. He was an ambassador. It is time for the galaxy to hear our voice again, even if it is just one word. He turned to the console. He opened a channel. Not a secret one. The main public channel that every ship and every news station monitored. He prepared to send the sanctuary pattern. The Pride of Gelia was still drifting on the screen. Vrox was still shouting about war. Min-Su took a deep breath. Okay, Jihyun. Let's say hello. Asterisk Min-Su's finger hovered over the console. On the screen, Vrox's angry face was still shouting. The Pride of Gelia drifted like a lost child in the dark. The power surge will burn out the emitter, Jihyun warned. Her hand was on the main power switch for her device. We will only get one chance. A few seconds at most. A few seconds is all we need, Min-Su said. He looked at Su-min. Can you make sure this goes everywhere? Su-min was already typing furiously. I am hacking the main galactic news feed. Every ship, every station, every council screen will get this. It will be the biggest broadcast in history. She gave a sharp smile. No one will be able to ignore it. Minsu took a deep breath. This was it. They were not just sending a signal. They were speaking for all of humanity. The ones who were left behind were about to introduce the galaxy to the ones who had moved on. Do it, he said. Ji-Hyen pushed the power level all the way up. The device on the table whined, a high-pitched sound that hurt their ears. The crystals inside glowed brighter and brighter like tiny suns. The air in the room hummed with a powerful energy. On the main screen, the public news feed flickered. The image of Vrox was replaced for a moment by a shimmering, beautiful pattern, the sanctuary symbol. At the same time, a deep, resonant tone was broadcast across every channel. It was not a loud sound, but it was a heavy one. It felt ancient and powerful. For a single second, the entire galaxy went quiet, listening to a word it did not understand. On the bridge of the Pride of Galia, the tone washed over the ship. Vrox stopped shouting mid-sentence. The frantic alarms on his console suddenly went silent. The ship's lights stabilized, glowing with a soft, steady light. What was that? Vrox hissed, looking around. What are they doing now? But his navigation officer looked confused. Counselor, the sensor ghost is gone? The computer, it knows where we are again. We are at a single set of coordinates. Vrox's eyes narrowed. This was a trick. It had to be. Then space itself began to change. Outside the viewport, the stars started to move. But they were not moving because the ship was moving. It was like a painting on water, and someone had touched the surface. The fabric of reality rippled. The space around the Pride of Galia began to fold. It was a gentle but irresistible force. It was like being a piece of paper, and a giant, careful hand was folding that paper. Vrox and his crew could only watch in stunned silence. Their huge, powerful warship was being moved. It was not being pulled. It was being rearranged. The stars streaked into long lines of light. The view outside the window swirled and changed. It felt like only a moment. Then everything was still. The navigation officer's voice was a shaky whisper. Counselor, according to our sensors, we are now in the Zeta Reticuli system. Vrox stared. That was over 39 light-years away from their previous position. They had been moved across the galaxy in the blink of an eye. His ship was completely unharmed. But it was also completely helpless. They were stranded in empty space. How? Was all Vrox could say. The arrogance was gone from his face, replaced by a deep, cold fear. But the show was not over. Back on the crossroads station, Minsu, Ji-Hyen, and Su-min watched the main newsfeed. The image had returned to the Galactic Council chamber. The ambassadors were in an uproar. They had seen the broadcast. They had seen Vrox's ship vanish. Then, the image on the Great Council screen flickered again. The symbol for sanctuary appeared once more, glowing softly. Then it slowly transformed. The lines of the symbol shifted and flowed like liquid light. They reshaped themselves into a new, familiar form. It was the marble and oak seat of Earth. A gasp went through the council chamber. The seat was back. It was no longer an empty space. It was there, solid and real, as if it had never been erased. And then, a figure began to form in the seat. It started as a shimmer of light, like heat haze on a summer road. The light gathered, becoming brighter and more defined. It settled into the shape of a human form, but made of pure, calm light. It had no clear face, no details of clothing. It was just a presence, a being of energy sitting calmly in the human seat. The council chamber was utterly silent. Every alien eye was fixed on the glowing figure. The figure did not speak with a mouth. A voice, calm and clear, echoed in the mind of every being in the chamber. And across every screen in the galaxy, we are not gone, we are here. The voice was not loud or angry. It was simple. It was a statement of fact. You erased a seat. You did not erase a people. You looked for US in ships and signals. You did not look For us in the fabric of your world, the figure of light slowly turned its head, and even though it had no eyes, everyone felt its attention focus on the three humans on the crossroads station, and you forgot. The most important thing about humanity, we are never truly alone. A wave of warmth and recognition flowed from the figure towards Minsu, Jihyun, and Sumin. It was a feeling of thanks, of pride. It was a parent looking at a child who had done something good. Then the figure turned its attention back to the council. We mean nitrogen monoxide harm. We have moved beyond such things, but we are now the guardians of this realm. The silence you heard was not death. It was focus. Our work is the balance of things you cannot see. Do not fear us, but do not provoke us. The voice paused, letting the meaning sink in. The conversation is now open. With those final words, the figure of light faded. The marble seat remained solid and present, a permanent reminder. The broadcast ended. The newsfeed returned to a confused reporter. In the small room on the crossroads station, the device Jihyun built sparked once and went dark. It was burned out. Its job was done. The three of them stood in silence. The only sound was the hum of Sumin's computers. Minsu looked at his hands. They were shaking. He had done it. They had done it. They had spoken for humanity, and humanity had answered. Jihyun let out a long, slow breath. It worked, she said, her voice full of wonder. Su-Min just grinned. They are not going to erase that, she said, pointing at the screen showing the council chamber. Not ever again? A new message alert flashed on Sumin's console. It was not from the news. It was a direct, secure message to the wayward sun. The sender was the office of the Galactic Council. The message was short. To the humans Minsu and Jihyun, you are requested as the designated ambassadors to the transcendent humanity to attend an emergency session of the Galactic Council. Immediate transport will be provided. Minsu and Jihyun looked at each other. They were no longer scavengers. They were no longer forgotten. They were ambassadors. They were the bridge between the galaxy that was and the humanity that had become something more. Their old life was over. A new one was just beginning. The ship sent by the Galactic Council was nothing like the wayward sun. It was smooth, quiet, and fast. It glided through space without a sound. Minsu and Jihyun sat inside watching the stars streak by. They wore simple, clean clothes Sumin had found for them. They did not look like ambassadors. They felt like two people who had woken up from a long dream. They did not speak much. There was too much to think about. Soon the Galactic Council station came into view. It was a massive ring, spinning slowly against the blackness of space. It was a place of great power, and they were being invited inside. A guide, a small, polite alien, met them at the docking bay. The alien led them through long, shining hallways. They passed other ambassadors. A tall, insect-like being clicked its mandibles as they passed. A creature of floating gas shimmered inside a contained field. All of them stopped to look at the two humans. Their stares were a mix of fear, curiosity, and respect. They arrived at the great doors of the council chamber. The doors were huge, made of a metal that shone with inner light. The guide stopped. They are waiting for you, the guide said, and then hurried away. Minsu took a deep breath. He looked at Jihyun. She gave a small, nervous nod. Together they pushed the heavy doors open. The chamber was just as they had seen on the screen, but it felt completely different in person. The air was still and quiet. The light was soft, and every single eye in the room was on them. The circle of seats was full. The water-filled seat, the perches, all of them. And there, among them, was the marble and oak seat of Earth. It was solid and real. It was empty, but its presence filled the room. An ambassador, a wise-looking being with wrinkled skin, stood up. This was Elder Nisa. She was known for her calm mind. Minsu and Jihyun of Earth, she said, her voice gentle. Welcome. Thank you for coming. She gestured to two simple chairs that had been placed in the center of the circle for them. They sat down. The galaxy has seen something it cannot understand, Elder Nissa continued. We acted in ignorance. We thought your people were lost. We were wrong. We offer our apology. It was a big thing for the Galactic Council to apologize. Minsu bowed his head slightly. Thank you, Elder. We have many questions, said another ambassador, a creature with many eyes. What is the transcendent humanity? What do they want? Minsu and Ji-hyun looked at each other. They had talked about this on the journey. They are not what they were, Ji-hyun began, choosing her words carefully. They are not individuals anymore. Not like us. They are more like a system, a network that maintains things. They are the reason your starships do not fly into tears in space, Minsu added. They are the reason the laws of physics are stable in most places. Their work is in the background. They keep the house in order. A murmur went through the chamber. The idea was huge. Humanity had not just evolved. They had become a fundamental service. And the event with Council of Rocks? Elder Nissa asked. Was that a warning? It was a reflex, Ji-hyun explained. Like when you touch something hot, your hand pulls back. His ship was very loud, very disruptive to their work. The network pushed back to protect itself. It was not a thought. It was a reaction. But you spoke to it, said the many-eyed ambassador. You made it stop. Minsu shook his head. We did not make it do anything. We said hello. We used a word they understood. The word for a safe place, for a boundary. We showed the network that we were here and that we were friends. It listened. It calmed down. He looked around the circle of alien faces. They are not our soldiers. We cannot ask them to fight for us. We cannot ask them for favors. They are like the weather or gravity. They are a force of nature that we can learn to live with, and we can learn to talk to. The council was silent, thinking about this. The humans were not in control of the great power. They were simply its interpreters. Then what is your role? Elder Nissa asked gently. Our role is to be the bridge, Minsu said. To learn their language. To help you understand what areas of space are ... sensitive. To help you live in a galaxy that is now, and forever, also a home to humanity. As he said this, a soft light began to glow in the marble seat. The same figure from the broadcast began to form. It was made of peaceful, shimmering light. The council members grew very still. The presence was immense. The figure did not speak words this time. Instead, it sent a feeling. A wave of concepts flowed into every mind in the room. It showed them the vast, beautiful network, like a tapestry of light connecting all stars. It showed them small, gentle adjustments being made, an unstable star being calmed, a dangerous ripple in space-time being smoothed out. It was a vision of care, of guardianship. Then, the vision focused on Minsu and Ji-hyun. It showed the wayward sun, small and brave in the dark. It showed their hard work, their discovery, their courage. A feeling of immense pride and gratitude flowed from the figure towards them. It was a feeling of a parent or an older sibling. Looking at the younger ones who had done well, the message was clear. These are our voice. Listen to them. Then, the figure faded away. The light in the seat dimmed, but the seat remained. The meeting was over. The council understood. There would be no more talk of erasing humanity. Later, Minsu and Ji-hyun stood at the viewing platform of the council station, looking out at the galaxy. What do we do now? Ji-hyun asked. We go back to work, Minsu said. But not as scavengers. He smiled. It was a real smile, without the old sadness. We have a new job. We are translators for the universe. He looked out at the endless stars. They were no longer points of light in a cold, empty sky. They were part of a living, breathing network. They were part of a home that his people were now watching over.